Welcome to Pick a Card, Any Card.
Where we pick a card.
Any card.
And turn one, kill it with lightning bolt.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Devin.
Today's cards are Jeskai Ascendancy.
And Merfolk Sovereign. So you mentioned that you're essentially going to be doing more like a deck tech today.
Yeah, I want to do something a little different.
Which is funny, because that's almost exactly what I'm doing.
Awesome. So, my coworkers and I, we build budget decks, because one of the problems that we have is that sometimes you want to build a deck and it gets stupidly expensive because, magic.
Yeah.
So we say, alright, $20, not including basic lands.
Okay.
Build a deck.
I can see that.
It's nuts!
Yeah, I would say, at first I'm like, $20, I play budget EDH, and that's $50. I'm like, holy crap. $20? It's constructed, so... But, that kind of makes sense, if everyone goes on it.
Yeah, you don't need a ban list, because your ban list is, what can I fit in a deck for $20?
Yeah. So you could have, a $20 card that I can't think of off the top of my head, and 59 islands.
In which case, you're probably not going to get very far. Anyway.
You could try.
So, at one point, my wife and I were thinking, it's getting on to be 4th of July. What do we want to do for 4th of July? Because... we pretty much hate everybody and don't want to go outside. So we decided, let's build America budget decks.
It's September.
I started this deck a while ago.
Okay. It's getting close to 4th of July. I'm like, no, it's not.
No, this was
not
a
at
while.
all. What the hell are you talking about?
Devin, what did you not you slept through 6 months, man.
Oh, crap.
So
I'll explain the smell.
The idea is... I wanted to build an America budget deck, and I thought, what is the best way to go about this? Well, my way of going about a budget deck is pick the colors I want, and then find a card in those colors that I want to build around.
So, hate to interrupt, but we forgot to introduce the newest member to our podcast.
Oh, yes.
Everyone meet Balthazar, Andrew's dog.
He doesn't speak very much.
Halfway through that little spiel, he climbed up on top of me, and now he's just here.
He will fall asleep on top of you.
That is good. Hopefully he does. And that way he stops licking the microphone. Or me.
So, Jeskai Ascendancy is 3 mana, a red, a white, and a blue. Merca. For an enchantment. Yeah. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Untap those creatures. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell...
prowess.
Basically. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So, I looked at this and I thought, I bet this combos really well with Madness.
That it does.
Yes, it does. So that's what my deck was built around. And let me tell you, after playtesting this, triggers get nuts. Triggers get stupid nuts.
Oh, I bet.
So, the card itself is not particularly interesting.
Does this work with Panharmonicon?
No.
No, because when you cast a non-creature spell, if something in your field, never mind.
Right. Oh my God, no, if it worked with Panharmonicon. It does work with Strionic Resonator.
That it does. But that's only one at a time. So
but that costs mana.
That is true. Yeah, but you're untapping all your creatures.
Unless those creatures are mana... Oh.
Yeah.
This deck needs green.
You just figured that out?
Wait, no.
You can run...
There are mirror.
Yeah,
you can use mirror.
You can use mirror, you can use... well, that's pretty much it. There's a couple guys in blue who, tap for colorless, only use it for instants and sorceries and such.
Yeah. So you've basically just given yourself as much mana as you could possibly want.
Yep. I mean, you need infinite things to cast.
That's fine, you just keep drawing. Until your hand is entirely clogged with lands, you're good.
That is true. Or creatures.
In which case, you're still playing creatures.
That is true. What you do, though, is you find a creature that you can just bounce to your hand for 2 mana, and once you get that 3rd mana source, you tap the 3, bounce them up, you have 1 floating. Oh, wait.
I don't think it works that way.
You can get there. If you find a guy who can bounce himself, you can get there.
So, at first I'm like, I need to start this. I need some way to start this combo off.
Okay.
I need to be able to discard cards so I can cast them on the cheap. The tried and true Merfolk Looter. This card has been reprinted so many times, it is cheap. Mm-hmm. It's good, and it is cheap.
Yep.
So, Merfolk Looter. 1 of anything in a blue for a 1/1 Merfolk Rogue. Tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Most of the cards in this deck are spells with Madness. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot of white in this deck.
I can see why.
Because the white Madness cards are really specific.
Are I didn't know there were any white madness
There
cards.
are
I
a few.
And now I think about it, like, surely there are, but sure.
There's just not very many, and they're not very
just
helpful.
as many blue spells that just deal damage.
Right.
Like, they exist. They aren't very common, but they're there.
Yeah, and so, great way to start off your combo. Merfolk Looter, tap, you get that first draw, then you discard, cast for the madness cost, Jeskai Ascendancy kicks, untap the looter, draw the card, discard the card, cast for the madness cost.
Okay.
Now,
that's
you
what
want
you
to
mean
get
by combo. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
you want to get real stupid? Tap Merfolk Looter, discard, cast for madness, Jeskai Ascendancy triggers, untap the looter, draw the card, discard the card, cast for its madness cost, hold priority before Jeskai Ascendancy triggers, or before Jeskai Ascendancy resolves.
There you go.
Tap the looter, discard a card, cast it for its madness cost.
Oh, and just keep doing stupid things. It's one of those things where you're like, you need to get extra copies of the cards just so you can literally put them in a pile to represent the stack so you know what you need to do.
Basically, yes. So you know
see,
what
if this wasn't budget, what you could do is you could replace that Merfolk Looter with the Jace. The $100 version of Merfolk Looter.
Right.
Well, he's like 30 now, but still.
No, because halfway through the combo, he flips over.
It's true. Well, by then you don't need him anymore.
We don't want him to flip.
Yeah. So, fun fact about Madness. In Standard, there's a deck called Blue-Red Machine Gun.
Yeah.
And kind of a good portion, or at least some of the varieties of it, is just a bunch of Madness red spells. And it's like, alright, there's one guy printed in Eldritch Moon. And what he does is whenever you cast a red spell, untap him. And you can tap, deal 1 damage, I think it's 1 or 2 damage to each player. Or each opponent.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like a common. And so what you
This
do
guy.
is... Oh yeah, his name is Thermo Alchemist. You actually had him on your list and I didn't know.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, he's totally in the deck.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
He's effectively a win condition.
Oh yeah.
He might be the only win condition.
Guys just like play a thing, tap him, do a thing, cast a spell, untap him, do this, do that. It is nuts. I saw someone I went to the Louisville Grand Prix. Did I mention that?
No, you did not.
Oh yeah, I went to the Louisville Grand Prix. It was a team sealed. Went to the 7th round and then finally lost 3 times. So we were out of day 2. So we just
Right.
we're at day 2. So it's like, well, not gonna waste our time. Especially since we're just gonna be playing people who are just have way better decks than us.
Right.
One guy I saw, I didn't play him, but I saw him and I talked to him. He essentially had this deck.
It's great.
Oh yeah, he had like 3
Was
Thermo
he also
Alchemists.
running Thing and Ice? Because...
I don't think he got Thing in these.
Oh.
But he was still running a crap load of stuff. It was sealed.
Oh, it was sealed. Okay.
So like it
So he probably didn't have Thing in Ice.
No, he definitely didn't have Thing in the Ice. But the deck was built in such a way that it looked like a constructed deck.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was nuts how good this guy's pool was.
Anyway, Thermo Alchemist. 1 generic and a red for a 0/3 with Defender. Tap. Thermo Alchemist deals 1 damage to each opponent. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, untap Thermo Alchemist. Is very reminiscent of Blister Coil Weird from Return to Ravnica. Except he has a way to tap himself.
Yeah.
And a useful...
He's essentially better.
Yeah. For sure for this deck.
Oh yeah. This guy is nuts. Like this guy, I love this guy because this guy is one, he's a common, and 2, he is a very casual card.
And hits each opponent.
Yeah. So like there's always like people who are just getting into Magic like open up a pack of Eldritch Moon, and if they're red players, they're gonna see this and be like, fuck yeah. For this guy in my red.
So, you've got ways to cast spells. You've got ways to deal damage. You've got ways to draw and discard. What if you want to draw more? So, there's not a lot of good draw spells with Madness. The best one that I found is Obsessive Search. It's 1 blue mana. For an instant, draw a card. With Madness of 1 blue mana.
So the perk you get from getting with Madness is you don't discard.
Right,
You don't
basically.
actually discard a card.
So, you run these, you just want to draw a lot of cards.
Yeah.
Your next option is Nagging Thoughts, which is 1 of anything and a blue for a sorcery. look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard, with Madness equal to its mana cost. Now, unfortunately, the card that you discard with this doesn't technically get discarded, it just gets put into the graveyard. But
so you don't get to use Madness off of it. But,
right. It does get you an extra card.
But how much drawing and discarding? I highly doubt you're not gonna have cards that are kind of worthless at the moment.
Right. And of course, because we're playing blue, we have to have the best counterspell ever. Circular Logic. I love this counterspell. It's 2 generic and a blue for an instant. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1 generic for each card in your graveyard. And it has Madness of 1. 1 blue.
Are you having fun?
It's hilarious.
This is interesting. I don't like how its name is Circular Logic, because its ability doesn't really affect Circular Logic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think of, like, counter target spell countering another spell. Like, that would kind of make sense, because Circular Logic. I do really like this counter spell, though. I don't think I've ever seen it before. It's surprising.
It is originally from Torment. It was an uncommon in Torment. Actually, it's the only printing of it. It was in Vintage Masters, which I believe is an online only set.
No, Vintage Masters
was it?
Yeah. They had oh wait, no, was it Legacy?
Eternal Masters?
Maybe it is an online set only.
I think it is.
They've had like 3 Modern Masters and 1 Legacy Masters, I think, in actual printing.
Eternal Masters.
Yeah, but that was Legacy.
Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of tricky to actually get off Circular Logic. You basically have to hold up your Merfolk looter, and then you can tap it to discard the Circular Logic, and then start this ridiculous chain all over again for as long as you've got mana.
Change. Well, like, you just do it on their turn.
Yeah.
Play nothing but instances.
Well,
cool. I
Madness lets you
play
play
your looter. Like, well, in response, sir.
In response, right. Oh man.
By the time you finally end, you're like, okay, now it's my turn. Do it all again.
Yeah, I think adding some mana generating creatures to this would be so great.
Palladium is probably the one you're going to go for.
That's the biggest problem I have right now is I run out of mana really quick.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of my lands come into play tapped because it's budget and I have to go on the cheap.
You get Guild Gates.
No.
Alright.
So you need something to end your combo. That
would work.
So I picked Grape Shot. There's only one of these in the deck.
Yeah.
Grape Shot is one generic and a red for a sorcery. Grape Shot deals 1 damage to target creature or player. It doesn't have Madness, so you can only do this on your turn. But it also has Storm, which if you're unfamiliar with Storm, when you cast this spell, copy it. For each spell you cast before it this turn, you may choose new targets for each copy. So, you do your whole nuts thing, you draw into a Grape Shot, you let everything resolve, because there's probably like 12 things on the stack right now.
Yep.
And then, you just cast Grape Shot.
The problem with that is that a lot of the things you're doing are like triggered abilities, and not really spells. You're going to cast like 4 or 5 spells and then run out of mana.
No.
How?
Well, depends on if you have mana generating.
Do you know what I think you would want to play over this?
What?
What's it called? Aetherflux Reservoir, I think it's called.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've really considered it.
Yeah, because what that does, it's that new card from Kaladesh that is out this weekend. Anyway, where are we? Oh yeah, Aetherflux Reservoir is one of the new cards from Kaladesh. And I actually made a standard deck just for fun with it. But what it essentially does is it's kind of like Storm, but it gains you life instead. So what it is, it's a 4-mana artifact that whenever you cast a spell, you gain life for each spell cast this turn.
Right. We mentioned this in our preview video.
Yes, we did.
So you might remember it from there.
A fun fact, and an interesting fact about it, because the way the ruling is, if you're casting a bunch of instants, when that ability goes on the stack, you can respond to it and cast like 3 more instants.
Yeah.
And you'll gain 4 for each one.
4 for each?
Yeah. Because let's say you just cast Lightning Bolt or whatever. Cast Lightning Bolt.
Right.
The reservoir trigger goes on the stack.
Right.
Then you cast another Lightning Bolt in response to that.
The trigger goes on the stack.
Yes. And you cast another one, trigger goes on the stack.
Right.
Alright. First one goes the Aether Flux resolve goes to the Aether Flux trigger goes resolve. You
Right.
cast 3 spells this turn.
Yes.
3 lightning bolt. It resolves. You gain 3 life. Lightning bolt resolves. Whatever. Aether Flux trigger number 2 goes to resolve. You've cast 3 spells this turn. You gain 3 life.
It doesn't check when it goes on the stack.
Yep. It gives you life when it resolves.
Oh.
Yep.
Might need to throw a 1-of in here. Mana's gonna... The problem is this is gonna be a tight deck. Because I have to fit within $20.
That is true. And this card, Aether Flux Reservoir, may be a little expensive because 1, it'll be in standard, 2, it's new, and 3, a lot of people.
It's gonna be a commander staple.
Not a staple, but it's definitely going to be in there in any deck that's like really life gaining. But fun fact: Aether Flux second ability is pay 50 life, deal 50 damage to target creature or player.
You can get there.
And so in this thing, you're like, if you play like 5 spells a turn, you're going to gain 25 life if you do it all instantly. Grip Shot works. You may want to consider running something like Psychosis Crawler, which whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses a life or something like that.
Right.
Something, because like this seems more of a draw deck than a burn deck than anything. Like it's kind of hard to like see what your win con is.
The win condition is quite literally a combination of Thermo Alchemist and just ridiculous amounts of taps on him and Grape Shot.
What's it called? Remember my draw deck?
Yeah.
That had that one card that would win games. The enchantment, Jace's
Erasure?
That's it. Jace's Erasure. You should run that. Because every time you draw a card,
they would mill a card.
It would mill a card. And it's an enchantment, so it's non-creature, so it'll activate all your stuff.
That is true. But it doesn't have madness.
No.
That's part of what I'm working towards here, is trying to get as much madness as I can.
That is true. Then just go vampires.
I actually considered running a vampire in here, just because...
The one vampire that gives all the vampires in your hand madness?
No. The one that just had madness, but I could jam it out. It was like a 3/3 for 2.
Oh, isn't there that one that's like 4/4 for 2? I don't think he's a vampire. Whatever. I think a lot of the best madness cards are just like those burn ones.
Yeah. Which... Oh, those aren't in here. Fiery Temper.
Yeah.
I'm running that too. Because it's a lightning bolt.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, it's a lightning bolt.
It's almost like it's the reason why madness red decks are kind of a thing. Did you know that almost wasn't the card that was going to be printed?
Really?
Yeah, they were going to make it was a very similar card, but just was strictly worse. It costed an extra. It was it would be 2 to deal 2 damage or deal the 3 damage or something like that.
Oh,
Madness.
So lightning strike.
Yeah, it'd be like Madness, it's a lightning strike instead. It's like,
No, let us have... Look, Wizards, you're not giving us lightning bolt anymore. Let us have our lightning bolt whenever we can. Just...
Yeah, I like that, lightning, it's they're conditional lights, and I like that.
I'm okay with a conditional lightning bolt, Wizards. Just let me have a lightning bolt every now and again.
I'm fine with lightning strike being kind of the standard. Because, 3 damage is kind of that, threshold. No one likes shock.
No.
Shock is 2. No one cares about 2. It's shock is just weak enough that no one cares. Lightning strike, on the other hand, is just strong enough that everyone is.
Right. I mean, there are just so many things that live outside of shock range. Basically everything lives out of shock range. Everything has 3 toughness nowadays, Wizards. What are you doing? But... because I really like to draw cards, and if my hand is just full of junk that I can't cast for madness, and my graveyard is full of really good stuff that has already been useful to me, I want to draw some more cards. And because there's no ban list in budget, I can run Treasure Cruise.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty much always casting for 1 or 2.
Yeah, Treasure Cruise is one of those cards that is banned, but no one particularly minds if you play it.
Yeah.
Because it's powerful, but the only reason it was banned is because it made that one deck too powerful. It
is a solid card, and yes, it is banned, but the fact that a budget banned deck is... Hey, you've gone over budget?
That is true, yeah, yeah, I forgot. This isn't the format Vintage or Legacy. This format is budget.
Right.
The ban list is the money pool.
Right. And it actually keeps all of the decks relatively balanced.
Yeah.
Now, there are going to be decks that have advantages over other decks, but...
Then again, if you're playing budget, you're not playing to win.
You're playing to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're playing What's your deck? It's a Biovisionary deck. I thought Biovisionary sucked. Yes, he does.
But I can make it work
But I got
on a
there.
budget.
What do you got? I got a Maze's End deck. Let me guess. It sucks.
But no, my Quill Spike deck is a budget deck. And
That it is.
It's a lot of fun to play. It's
Really, I distinctly remember playing that and I had fun, but the guy I played with wasn't having any fun.
well, I said it's fun to play. I didn't say it was
True.
fun for the other guy.
I actually really enjoyed that deck. I thought that deck was a lot better than I gave it credit for.
You'd be surprised what you can do on a budget.
Oh, I know what you can do on a budget. You remember my King Makar EDH deck?
Yeah,
That's a budget deck. Remember my Shadowborn Apostle deck?
that's a budget deck.
It was originally a budget deck,
Oh,
but it's
okay.
been reworked. It's just outside of the budget range.
I was gonna say.
Well,
that seems.
It was actually never technically a budget due to the fact that Shadowborn Apostle is kind of Shadowborn Apostle is kind of a outlier in the money pool situation because he's like a common 1/1 for one who's like $1.50.
It's because you can have so many of them.
No, the reason is because like every place in the world only has like 3 or 4, but no one who wants a Shadowborn Apostle wants a Shadowborn Apostle.
Right.
They need at least 6. Mostly like 30. Fun fact, at the GP Louisville, I actually inspired a guy to, he's a friend of Pip's. Pip borrowed my Shadowborn Apostle deck, took it down there, played it, and one of Pip's friends fell in love with it.
Awesome.
And he just went around the GP like, hey, you got any Shadowborn Apostles? Like, I think I have 1 or 2. How many do you need? 25. What? Oh yeah, Shadowborn Apostles, that card you can have a bunch of. Yeah.
So, that pretty much wraps it up for me. We'll put a link in the description to this deck. It's something I tinker with from time to time. I haven't fully figured it out yet. So, we'll post a link in the description. Go ahead and leave comments in the video.
It sounds pretty open, and like all these cards work with Jeskai Ascendancy. Like in my opinion, what you should do is go for something like Jace's Erasure.
And
Just like go for like when you draw a card, do a thing.
that is definitely one way to go for it.
Yeah,
It's just not the way I decided to go.
that's fair.
So feel free to copy this deck off and make changes to it and see what you can do with it, because that's sort of what we're doing here, is trying to inspire people.
Yeah. Now for my card. My card is I'm also doing something different than the standard rigmarole, and I'm also kind of doing a deck tech. And I picked one of my favorite cards is Merfolk Sovereign, who is essentially a Merfolk Lord. One of the worst Merfolk Lords, but she's my favorite because she has super pretty art.
Yeah, that's
All the other Merfolk
It's not
usually
a bad
have.
Merfolk.
No, she's not bad at all, but she's one of the worst lords. There's like 6, and she's good, but not as good as the rest.
That's fair.
So
She is an infinite combo enabler.
yes, she is. You read my note.
I did.
Proud of you. Anyway, Merfolk Sovereign is one of the mini Merfolk lords. She is a 1 generic, 2 blue creature Merfolk. Other Merfolk creatures you control get +1/+1. Tap, target Merfolk is unblockable this turn. And she's a 2/2. Just like every other Merfolk lord. There's about 5 of them. There are, let's see if I remember off the top of my head without looking at the notes. There's Lord of Atlantis, Master of the Pearl Trident, Mero Rugiri. Did I say Coral Helm Commander?
You did not.
Okay, Coral Helm Commander, Merfolk Sovereign, of course. Adaptive Automaton, technically. And there's one more who's like a 6/6 for like 7, so he doesn't really count. And I can't remember. Is that all of them? I just named 6. Lord of Atlantis, Coral Helm Commander, Adaptive Automaton is on there. Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking, yep, these are all... Oh, right, Adaptive Automaton is technically a Merfolk Lord.
Yes, he is.
Just like he's an Illusion Lord in my Illusion deck.
That's what I love about Adaptive Automaton is in so many decks because he's technically Lord of everything.
Right.
Anyway,
He's too expensive to be a Goblin Lord, though.
yeah. Well,
I mean,
he's a Goblin Lord, but like all the other Goblin Lords that are 3/3s usually give or that are 3 mana usually give
something else,
like
right?
haste
Or Mountain Walk.
Yeah, which is a little weird because you think like, oh, like haste, but all goblins have haste already, don't they? So why should I really be concerned?
They really don't. You'd be surprised.
There are a lot of goblins that don't. Yeah, I've noticed that. One, oh no, you ruined it. So,
Lord of Atlantis is definitely the best Merfolk Lord, though.
he is tied with Master of the Pearl Trident, because they are the exact same card. Master of the Pearl Trident and Lord of Atlantis are both 2/2 Merfolk creature, 2/2 creature Merfolks for 2 blue. Other Merfolk creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Island Walk. They are exactly the same. The only difference is they have different names, so therefore you can have 4 copies of each. And they cost 2.
I love it when Wizards does functional reprints of ridiculous things.
No. There's a difference between a functional reprint and a... Oh wait, no, never mind. I was getting wrong. Like, there's a term for almost reprint or something like that, where it's not a reprint, but it's so close it might as well be.
Right.
Like,
but a functional reprint is the exact same card with a different name.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So I guess one could argue that Master of the Pearl Trident is strictly better because the art is prettier. Lord of Atlantis doesn't look particularly good. Also, Lord of Atlantis may be a little expensive due to the fact that, like, he hasn't been printed in, like, 5 years.
Not since Time Spiral.
Which was... Holy crap, that was like 8 years ago, wasn't it?
It was a long time ago.
That was a long-ass time ago.
And he wasn't even technically printed in Time Spiral. He was one of the time-shifted cards in Time Spiral, which was a separate sheet.
Of course he was. So anyway, there's a lot of them. A lot of Merfolk Lords. Let's go to Merfolk Rajiri. Fun fact, I actually pretty much made this deck. It is actually a pretty high-ranking modern deck. It's just the Merfolk deck, and almost all of them run various number of these, with the exception of Merfolk Sovereign, because Merfolk Sovereign just isn't quite good enough, especially when you can have 12 copies of Lord of Atlantis, because there's Lord of Atlantis, Master of the Pearl Trident, and you can have 4 copies of Phantasmal.
Yeah.
You should get more of them. Anyway, another Merfolk Lord.
Phantasmal Image is strictly better, because it has a less strict color requirement.
It also dies if someone targets it with literally anything.
I don't have that problem.
That is true, because you give all your illusions hexproof.
And when it comes into play, generally it gives itself hexproof.
Because you copy your own lord.
Yep. And actually, I'm talking a little bit about my illusion deck here. These two decks were pretty evenly matched for a while. Yours was pretty consistently 1 turn ahead of mine.
Yeah.
So I need to go back and make some edits to my illusion deck to make it a little bit faster, a little bit more consistent. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I also made an illusion deck. This is because we both decided to go for an illusion deck at the same time. You were just faster at building yours than I was. Once I actually got mine made, though, I didn't particularly like it.
That's because it's a red deck.
Well, so was my Merfolk deck. I think that was my problem with it.
The illusion deck is way more red than the Merfolk deck.
I give you that. Well, Merfolk deck plays a Merfolk and swings. It's like Merfolk go. Like that's how Merfolk deck goes. That's probably why, because I made my illusion deck just let's just grab all the best illusions and throw them in a deck together.
Yeah.
And that just didn't work. As opposed to and also the thing with illusions, there were 2 lords. Lord of the Unseen and, it's Unseen, right?
Unreal.
Lord of the Unreal and, Adaptive Automaton. As opposed to my Merfolk deck, which every Merfolk was a lord. All of them.
Right.
But, so yeah, Merfolk. I forgot to mention we get distracted about illusions when I was about to talk about Mara Rajiri, who is the most busted, I guess, Merfolk, or not busted, but the most interesting Merfolk lord to talk about. Because even though he costs 3, which kind of puts him a little bit worse than the other ones, because 3 is just not a good cost to be in a Merfolk deck, because it works a lot with Aether Vial.
Right.
Its ability is nuts. So it's got the other Merfolk you can control, +1/+1. He's a 2/2. And his second ability is, whenever you cast a Merfolk spell, you may tap or untap target permanent.
Yeah, I can see how that would be ridiculously broken.
It is kind of powerful, especially since a good portion of Merfolk costs 2. Especially considering that a good portion of Merfolk you're going to put on the battlefield via Aether Vial. Which is alright, I have put him on the field next turn 4. Tap Aether Vial, put it in Merfolk.
Untap Aether Vial.
No, it's when you cast.
Oh,
Aether Vial
yeah.
just puts them on the battlefield.
That's
so it
right.
doesn't quite work, but what you do is then you pay 2, cast another Merfolk, untap the Aether Vial, tap
Right.
Aether Vial, put in a Merfolk, tap the other 2, put in a Merfolk, cast a Merfolk, untap Aether Vial, tap Aether Vial, put in another Merfolk. Usually you run out of cards in your hand at that point. You hold up for like Remand or something, but still.
Yeah, that's
Hold a butts.
significant.
Like, yeah, he can make or break games. You know what you could also do? Cast a Merfolk, tap down that one blocker that I really need out of the way,
Right.
swing in for game. So Merfolk can get things done. Like, his biggest weakness is that he costs 3, which is just right out of the ideal Merfolk positioning for the rest of the deck to work.
Right.
So, like, we've talked about a lot of
Well,
Merfolk. Oh, yeah.
speaking of Aether Vial,
Should probably tell people what it does.
yeah.
Feel free.
Aether Vial is 1 generic for an artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a charge counter on Aether Vial. Tap, you may put a creature card with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Aether Vial from your hand onto the battlefield. Now this can do a variety of things, really. Mm-hmm. You can just keep increasing it to just keep dropping bigger and bigger creatures. It helps you just slam out more creatures per turn than you would even consider having mana for. You can...
It's instant speed.
It is instant speed, so you can do it on your opponent's turn to flash in a blocker.
Yep, they're straight up put on the battlefield, so they can't be countered.
It's very similar to Quicksilver Amulet.
Yeah.
I think between the two, Aether Vial is probably considered the better card, but I think Quicksilver Amulet is more versatile, because with Quicksilver Amulet, you're paying 4 every time, yes, but there's not a mana cost restriction.
Yeah, Aether Vial is good because Aether Vial gets out a bunch of cheaper creatures.
Right.
It's essentially like, the only deck I ever actually see it run in is Merfolk. There are some other decks that are run, but like Merfolk is like the deck. It's not like in a bunch of decks, but Merfolk is the Aether Vial.
Well, the problem with most other decks that Merfolk doesn't really have, most other aggressive decks like Goblins and Illusions, they all have a 1-drop. They all have a creature to fill that 1-drop slot.
Well, they all have...
And you would rather hit that...
A couple of 1-drops.
You would rather hit that than hit the Aether Vial turn 1.
That is
because
true.
you want to just keep speeding along.
The only 1-drop that people run consistently in Merfolk is Curse Catcher.
Mm-hmm.
Who is just a 1/1 Merfolk for 1 blue. And you can sacrifice them to counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays 1.
Which late game is not useful.
Yeah. Well, the whole point of that is to prevent your opponent from playing Wrath of God on turn 4.
Right. But Aether Vial fits really nicely into that underused 1-drop slot in the Merfolk deck.
Yeah.
Which is why it sees so much more play there.
Which definitely makes a lot more sense. So the reason I want to talk about Merfolk is I love Merfolk. If I haven't told the story yet, Merfolk was my first deck. When I first started playing Magic, I think it was a 2010 starter deck, and it was blue. Mm-hmm. And it was like Scry. Its rare on the front was Sphinx.
I think I remember this deck.
You should, because you've played it 100 times.
I was going to say, I think I actually got the same deck.
Oh, really? That's interesting. But that was my first deck. I just straight up bought that. Played a few games. It was fun. One of the cards was Maritime Guard. I'm like, what's Maritime Guard? It's a Merfolk. I'm like, what's a Merfolk? They're like, oh, they're a creature type. They're just creatures. They do stuff. I'm like, that's cool. I'm going to make a Merfolk deck. And I gathered a few just random Merfolk here and there. And the first Lord I ever saw was Merfolk Sovereign. And I'm like, oh, cool, there is interaction between other Merfolks. And I got her, got a whole bunch of them. And it was actually blue-white.
Right.
Was the original deck. And so I kept blue-white themed throughout for a long time until about a year and a half ago I finally cut out the white. Yeah, now it's just blue. But I really liked white. And I really liked the white Merfolk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the black Merfolk because none of the black Merfolk work with other Merfolk.
Right.
They're more like they're black cards that happen to be Merfolk as opposed to Merfolk who happen to be black.
It's actually funny that we mentioned Aether Vial because the Masterpiece series has all been revealed as of last week. Last week, as of recording, 2 weeks ago, as of...
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, as of... Wow. You guys are way behind the times, listeners.
Anyway, so the Masterpiece series of Aether Vial looks gorgeous.
Absolutely gorgeous.
My only problem with it is it doesn't actually look like a vial. At all.
It looks a lot like the Aether Flux Reservoir.
A little bit. It looks like... I assume it's small, so it looks like the top half of just an hourglass.
Yeah.
So it's more like an Aether funnel than anything. And like, that, my problem is it's not a vial. Anyway, one big thing that a lot of... Before I get into like the white Merfolk, because I just really like the white Merfolk. A big difference between my Merfolk deck and most other like modern competitive Merfolk decks is a lot of them run... What's that one enchantment that does this? Draw card.
Oh, Spreading Seas.
Spreading Seas. A lot of them run Spreading Seas, which is 2 mana enchantment, enchanted land as an island, draw a card. Really good card. However, there's also this card called Aquatex Will, which is a tribal sorcery Merfolk. Put a flood counter on target land. That land is an island in addition to its other types, as long as it has a flood counter on it.
Which triggers Mirror Rajiri because it's a Merfolk spell?
It is a Merfolk spell. And if you control a Merfolk, draw a card.
So it is always draw a card and untap something.
Yeah, well, not always, because you may not have Merfolk Rajiri. Because that's the one that generally gets Doombladed. Yeah, it gives it, like, Island Walk. Like, Lord of Atlantis gives Island Walk, but I have 8 Lord of Atlantis in the deck.
Right.
So, like, you're gonna have to just kind of accept that. Mirror Rajiri makes things go nuts, so it may not be around. But still, like, I think Aquatex Will is better. The majority of other people who play Merfolk decks apparently disagree with me.
Well, it is actually one of the very few instances in which that land can revert to not being an island. Most things that put a counter on something and say this thing becomes something else, it's not the counter that makes it that thing. The counter is just a marker. This actually, the counter makes it an island.
Yeah.
So if you can pull counters off of something, you can make that not an island anymore.
Yeah.
Not that I think it matters, because it's way easier to get rid of an enchantment than it is to get rid of a counter.
And it's like, and I don't think that's the reason that makes it, why people don't run it. I think the reason people don't run it is because Spreading Seas, the difference between Spreading Seas and Aquatex Will is that Spreading Seas makes it an island and that's it.
Right.
Aquatex Will makes it an island in addition to its other types. So I think the main reason is because people on Merfolk go like, oh, that's a tapped wasteland I see. Now it's an island.
Right.
Now you can't use it to kill my lands. Or oh, that's a Maze of Ith, or that's a land that does a super fancy thing. That needs to not be that land anymore. It's now an island.
Right.
Aquatex Will just makes it an island, in addition to everything else. So, I think Aquatex, I prefer to play Aquatex Will. I think I think Spreading Seas may be better, just for the sake of getting rid of your opponent's lands. But I prefer Aquatex Will because it's cheaper.
Yeah. And it's another 1-drop. You can just immediately jam it in there, get card advantage.
Well, if you do a turn 1, you don't have a Merfolk point.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But I also like it better because the art I think is cooler. It has a little Merfolk guy in there just like destroying a hunk of rock. Like, yeah.
Whoosh.
So I'm going to get on white Merfolk. I really, really like the white Merfolk. All the white Merfolk, I believe, are from Morningtide. That's the term. All the white Merfolk are from Morningtide. And for every single white Merfolk there is in Morningtide, there's a black one in Shadowmoor.
Right.
Including, like, Stig? Or Sig?
Sig.
It's Sig. Sig, he was a white Merfolk that does cool stuff, and in the next one, he's just a dick.
Blue-white in Morningtide, blue-black in Shadowmoor.
Yep. All the white ones are cooler. For example, Stonybrook Schoolmaster is one of my favorites. What Stonybrook Schoolmaster does is whenever she becomes tapped, put a 1/1 Merfolk token onto the battlefield. That's it. One of the reasons I like her is because when she becomes tapped, not when she attacks, not tapped to a thing, it's when she becomes tapped. So you can do it to Swinger, or if you have something else that taps down Merfolk.
It's like there's a new red card in Kaladesh where when it becomes tapped, it deals the damage.
You're right.
which I think a lot of people are going to use to start crewing vehicles.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But-
What I actually used it for is there's a card called Summon the School, which is a 4-mana enchantment. Another tribal sorcery merfolk. I don't know why I said enchantment, but it's a tribal sorcery merfolk. Put 2 merfolk 1/1 merfolk tokens onto the battlefield. Tap 4 merfolk you control. Return it back to your hand from your graveyard. So if you have Stony Brook Schoolmaster, let's say you have 4 Stony Brook Schoolmasters, just because. You're like, okay, what do you do? Well, I tap all 4 of my Stony Brook Schoolmasters to activate some of the school's ability. All their abilities activate. I get 4 merfolk tokens, put it back in my hand, cast it, get 2 more merfolk. Now I have 6 merfolk. Tap 4 of them.
Nope. You've got 10 merfolk.
How?
You had
4. I had the 4. I had the 6.
You've got 6 tokens.
6 tokens. Fun fact: you can tap things that have summoning sickness. So yeah, I would do that a lot. One of my favorites is instant speed. Like, I swing at you, and I have to block with one of your very valuable creatures. And I'm like, all right, tap my 4 merfolks, get a token, put this back in my hand, block with the token. Oh yeah.
Ha ha ha.
So like that's why I really like the white ones, is because they have a lot of token generation, and they work a lot. Like there's a lot of them that give protection. There's a lot of, like, when something deals with damage, you can draw a card. I really like the white. All the black merfolk aren't particularly interesting. They're all more black, so they're a lot alone. They don't do things with other merfolk. They just do things.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, destroy target creature or something like that, which is good and all, but it's a little boring. Another favorite of mine is Judge of Currents, which is another just random tapping mechanic. Judge of Currents is a 1/1 merfolk for 1 and a white. Whenever a merfolk you control becomes tapped, you gain a life.
That's it.
So you swing for 10 with 10 merfolk, gain 10 life, deal a buttload of damage.
Every time you bring back Summon the School, you get 4 life.
Yep. One of my favorite merfolk, who wasn't technically white, but he was always white in my heart, was Sinjiri Merfolk. Sinjiri Merfolk was a 2/1 for 2. 1 and a blue. As long as you controlled planes, Sinjiri Merfolk had first strike.
Yep.
So, I really like Sinjiri. So, do you want to talk about the combo?
I've had it used on me enough.
Okay.
So the combo that I alluded to early on was using Wanderwine Prophets. Wanderwine Prophets is 6 mana, 4 generic and 2 blue, for a 4/4 Merfolk Wizard. It has Champion a Merfolk. When Wanderwine Prophets enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you exile another Merfolk you control. When this leaves the battlefield, that card returns to the battlefield. So, you can exile a token, you can exile whatever you want to, really.
As long as it's a merfolk.
As long as it is a Merfolk. Whenever Wanderwine Prophets deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice a Merfolk. If you do, take an extra turn after this one. So the combo really revolves around having the Wanderwine Prophets and the Stony Brook Schoolmaster. And, in my opinion, Merfolk Sovereign.
Merfolk Sovereign or Lord of Atlantis, giving them an island. Merfolk
Sovereign works better because Summon the School is a Merfolk tribal spell.
Yes, it is.
So, it allows you to untap your creatures again.
What?
Yeah, when you cast Summon the Schools, Merfolk Sovereign lets you untap something. No,
that's Merfolk
Merfolk
Sovereign just make something unblockable.
Yeah. There we go.
So, Merfolk Sovereign, she is one of the options. You want to somehow swing Stony Brook Schoolmaster and Wanderwine Prophets at the same time, and them both be unblockable. You either have 2 sovereigns that...
You don't need to swing the the Stony Brook Schoolmaster.
Yeah, you just need to make it tapped somehow.
You can tap it in order to get your Summon the School back to your hand.
Yeah. And depending on what you got, you may not even need to care if it's unblocked.
Right.
As long as it's tapped and you get a token, you're like, all right, that's an extra turn. Did you say what Wanderwine Prophet's second ability did?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't remember if you did or not.
But you do need Wanderwine Prophets to be unblockable.
Yes, like an Wanderwine Prophet needs to have Island Walk, and they have an island or unblockable.
Which, it's just easier, I think, to make it unblockable.
It is, it is far simpler and just like, I have a sovereign, it's going to be unblockable. Don't have to worry about it. As opposed to like, I have a Merfolk, or I have a Lord of Atlantis. Well, do they have an island? No. If I made one of their lands an island? No. Unblockable.
Right.
Though if you have, he's a 5/5.
Right, but you can swing in with the Wanderwine Prophets after making it unblockable or having it island walk in. Then you sacrifice the token that Stony Brook Schoolmaster created.
Correct.
Take another turn, untap everything.
Swing it again.
Either swing in again with the Stony Brook Schoolmaster or untap it or tap it in order to get summon the school back. Some way you need to get it to tap.
Yeah.
And you can just do this as often as you want. And I like the idea of just recasting Summon the School constantly.
Yeah, and you'll gain Merfolk. The thing about this combo is it's not like so brittle that like you may run out. Just like, do you have like 2 Merfolk? Like, you have enough. Like, swing in for Wonderwine Prophets. Like, you don't need infinite turns.
You just need enough turns.
Yeah, you just need like 2 more will be fine. Because like, him by himself, he's a 4/4.
Right.
And if you have just like if you just like have a lord making him island walk and he's getting in there,
or
he's a 5/5 or like just if you have sovereign.
If Sovereign or Lord of Atlantis both give +1/+1.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, he's a 5/5.
You need 4 turns,
and you have just like 2 garbage Merfolk or something. Like someone's pacified or arrested another Merfolk or something since like turn 2. It's like, cool. Swing him in, sacrifice one of my random Merfolk, and like give me another turn. Swing in for another 5. You were at 10. Good game.
Right.
Like it's like you don't need infinite turns. You just need enough.
Right. You just need enough because you're running an aggro deck.
Yeah. I think most of the times I did go infinite due to the fact that he's a 6-drop. So by then I had plenty of Merfolk.
Right.
But I usually never really got him off due to the fact that people are like, Wonderwine dead because he doesn't have haste or anything. So
Doom
it's like,
the Blade.
Wonderwine Prophets is like, that's not going to spy for your turn, right? I'm like, yeah, I know.
If you untap with it, you win. But
most likely,
if you untap with it, you win.
Yeah.
They've got to try real hard to make it so that you can untap with it and not win.
Well, they just have to kill it.
Then you don't untap with it.
Or, well, they kill it in response to you swinging. Or they could somehow block. Oh, Maze of Ith. Untap and make it stop remove it from attacking.
Okay. But
at that point, you're like, alright, I just swing at you with my other, like, 6/6 Merfolks.
Right.
The weird part about him is the fact that since he's a 4/4, and he's getting buffed by all the other Merfolk, like, he's the biggest Merfolk.
Mm-hmm.
All the other Merfolk are like 2/2s who are getting like +4/+4, so they're 6/6s. He's a 4/4 getting +4/+4, so he's an 8/8. So they're gonna like, well, if I'm gonna block anyone, it has to be him because he's bigger. And if I don't, he'll get other turns. So
right,
as opposed to like, oh, he's just a 1/1. But if he gets in there,
yeah. Which is why I think I like this champion a little bit less than I like the Goblin champion. Because the Goblin champion is like, anytime any Goblin deals any damage.
Oh yeah, like that Goblin champion is, well, they both fit their colors.
They do, they really do.
Like the Goblin one's like, just more Goblins. Like,
more Goblins.
This guy, it's just like, turns. It's like,
which doesn't really make sense in flavor.
Lore-wise, he doesn't. I wonder what Wonderwine means. Isn't that just like a place in Lorwyn?
Yeah.
And they're a prophet? I don't know why they would get another turn. Like, getting another turn is like a time thing, so
I honestly
maybe he's doing some kind of time magic, but there's no flavor text.
Right.
It's hard to find the official magic stories for back in the day because they didn't just post them in a convenient place.
No, they used to print them in books.
That is true.
I have a few.
Now they just post them on the internet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wanted to point out the fact that there are a few green Merfolk.
Are there?
Yeah.
Huh.
There are a good portion of them are Simic. Well, they're blue-green. There's
You're
no
right.
just
Prime
green.
Speakers is gone.
Yep. She is one. Voral Hulklod, I think is how his name is.
Voral of the Hulklade.
That's it.
Yeah.
He is also a Merfolk. There's like a few Selkies. A good portion of them are Simic, and they're in my notes somewhere. Pull up my notes real quick. It's Simic and Swamps. That's what they are. Scroll up a little bit. Merfolk, Ravnik, Simic, occasional others there are in Swamps. Yeah. And there are two red Merfolk.
Right.
Jorian from Battle of Zendikar, which was like a month ago, but she made sense.
It was more than a month ago.
Well, it was a couple months ago. It was about a year ago, actually. But still, in a very recent set. But then before that, there was one Merfolk called, like, Razorfin Merfolk from, like, 8th edition or something.
Oh! I think I know what you're talking about.
He was, like, one blue and a red, and it's, like, tap deal damage or something.
It's, because it was a hybrid. It was like a goblin Merfolk.
It was. I remembered it being a Merfolk, but I don't remember it being... That's interesting. He is a Merfolk goblin.
Yep. Now, I remember this guy.
It was an Apocalypse.
Yeah, he would fit in my Jeskai deck.
He would. He wouldn't be very good, but it would still be interesting. Razorfin Hunter or something like that. So I was right with Razorfin.
Yes.
I got that.
I forgot. Yeah, he was...
But Merfolk, I really like them, and they're mostly blue. One of the reasons why I really like them. One of the reasons why I really like them. If you want other cards to run in a Merfolk deck, I would highly suggest you run things like Spellskite to keep your Merfolk safe. Kira the Glass Spinner, also to keep your Merfolk safe. Dismember, which is a removal spell for technically 1 mana. Give -5/-5 to something.
It's also technically black.
Technically black. Or you could run Remand, which is a counter spell for 2. And your biggest fear is Wrath of God. Actually, your biggest fear is Supreme Verdict, because you can't counter that with Curse Catcher.
No, that's
on turn
true.
4. That's like usually how Merfolk was. It's like, can you swing in on turn 4? Yes, then you're golden.
Right.
It's like, do they turn 4 Wrath of God? Yes, then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
If they don't, then you're probably...
Well, I think that about wraps it up for us.
Yep. Thank you for listening to Pick a Card, Any Card. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or card suggestions, you can email us at
pacac.cast@gmail.com.
or you can just leave them in the comments below.
Because, it's there.
Yeah, the whole point of them.